One of the ways that I like to balance myself is feeding one of my biggest addictions, and that's going to sacred sites. I consider myself a sacred site junkie, and all of my friends that travel with us are probably sacred site junkies too. We have a lot of repeaters that come back with us. We go to a lot of different places around the world. Maya lands, Peru, Egypt, England, Scotland, been to Greece. There's something about sacred sites, and it took me a long time to figure out why I was so attracted to sacred sites and why my buddies were so interested in me going to sacred sites and talking as many people as possible into going to sacred sites and helping people go with or without me. I don't care, just get to them. And how they describe it is sacred sites, let's say there's dimensions or ages, okay? And let's just go with the ones we know, because there's ones way below Lemuria and above Atlantis. But, you got Lemuria, Atlantis, the age we're in, but the sacred sites on the earth all stay the same. So if you took a little thread and punched them through all the dimensions, the sacred sites would be in the same places on the earth. So when you go to a sacred site, like Peru, for instance, it's pretty easy to see it there. You'll see stonework that is obviously from Lemuria. And then you'll see another layer, because Lemurian, it's very asymmetrical. Looks like it was carved out of one stone. No one can figure out how it got there. Then you get to the Atlantean stonework, and it's very precise and very symmetrical. And then you get to this age, and it's more crude, and yet they're still building on top one over the other on top of sacred sites. Now this is common all across the world. Sacred sites have been used for many, many ages. They keep going back to the same places. And it's important because they hold the core frequency that goes throughout all dimensions. So right now, for me, the only place that really when I really feel good in my skin, especially since we've entered into 2017, is, and we started hitting this dark night of the soul, the only time I really feel good is when I'm out on the land in a sacred place. And I live in Sedona, so there's a lot of ways to get into some beautiful energy here, and or going out with my groups. And when I get out on the land, and like we're in stone circles in Scotland, I feel good. I have so much energy all day. And then as soon as I go back into coming back home and I'm back in my house dealing with the world, it's a complete opposite. And I think when we're in sacred sites, that core frequency that goes through all dimensions is our core frequency with the age we're moving into now. So when we step into that, it feels really comfortable and feel comfortable in our skin. Now, energy in sacred sites do wave across the earth. So energy in sacred sites, you will, if something is shifted in the cycle of time that we're in, or something new has come in, it hits the sacred sites first. And this is another reason why we like to go, because we're energy junkies and we want to feel everything and we want it now, right? But it washes across the planet in this grid system, very elaborate grid system across the planet. And eventually, what I feel here in Sedona, I might write about and speak about and say, well, I'm not feeling that today. But then a week or two later, my friends in Australia will say, oh, I'm starting to feel that now. And I realize that the energy comes through the sacred sites first, from the cosmos, from our starry family in the universe, comes into the earth, spreads across, and then we all begin to feel that, and it slowly transforms us. But sacred sites are the one place I actually feel really good in now. So the Star Elders just popped in. Not that they ever leave me alone. Anyway. And they realize that people out there, a lot of people can't afford to go to sacred sites, or they don't live near one that they can get to in a drivable distance. And they think, well, how's that going to help me? And there's sacred sites in your backyard around the corner, a mile or two from your house, because this grid work that goes across the planet is so intricate that you will be able to find a sacred place in your area no matter where you are. And if you're feeling fragmented, confused, fragmentation, it seems to be a really strong one in the last few weeks. One thing you can do is go find a sacred place in the land. And if you don't know where those are, because there is no intricate map for every single place where ley lines cross, which create a node, or where a ley line crosses over, there's no maps for a lot of those. There's books that explain the major ones, but all those intricate small ones that are right outside your front door, it's really hard to find them. And let me explain how you would find a ley line. Walk out of your house. Go drive out somewhere where you're away from buildings. It could be a big park, or away from houses and buildings, and preferably off pavement. And then get into somewhat of a meditative state where you're being very aware of how your body's feeling and how the world is feeling, and then take a walk. And when you take a walk, the way you know you've crossed a node line, or you've hit a ley line, or you've hit a sacred spot, which could be a mound, it could be a tree, split trees that grow split from the trunk up, are a very common way to find a ley line, is the way you're going to feel. It's pretty subtle, but imagine how it feels like if you're in your living room and you're about to walk out your front door and then you walk outside. You know how it feels different? Or you walk from one room to another. If you walk from your living room to your bedroom, you might want to try this first. Walk from your kitchen to your dining room, or anything that has a doorway, or your living room to your bathroom. Notice how it feels different. It's subtle, but it's there. Then go outside and practice it. And you can find sacred sites anywhere. I always recommend mountaintops if you can get to them, beaches, and other things. But if you're in the middle of the country or away from any of those things, there's a lot of ways to find sacred sites in your area. You just got to practice it. And the way would be to walk and notice shifts of energy. It might come as a breeze in the air. It might come the way the birds are singing extra sweet. It might feel like you've walked subtly through something. You even notice this in cities. If you're a sensitive person, you'll notice it. Be walking down the sidewalk and all of a sudden, boom, you feel like you've walked through something. That's probably a ley line. It's probably a node right in the middle of a city. But you're usually so bombarded with a lot of other input, you might not notice it. So it's easier if you get out of nature. And when you find those places, remember them. And when you feel fragmented, go back to them. I also suggest getting above 7,000 feet. If you're by a mountain, I find that getting above 7,000 feet, all the astral plane drops away from you. And anything that is stuck to you that doesn't belong to you, if you need a vacation, if you need an afternoon where you don't have to feel it, you just can't cope anymore, and you feel like you need a break, try to get above 7,000 feet. And everything drops away, and you become very clear, and the only thing left in you that is there that's still an issue is yours. And then sit and work on it. Getting to the beach works really well. Big trees, redwoods are awesome. Waterfalls, any place where there's negative ions. And then if you don't have any of those things, you can't get out of the house, there's Epsom salt baths. Epsom salt baths with some drops of lavender, and then I love putting a scoop of coconut oil at the end after you soaked. Light some candles, make a sacred space in your house. There's a million ways you can do things to help you deal with what's going on with the earth right now while we're going through this temporary global dark night of the soul. The other things would be to forgive yourself. None of us are perfect, and if anybody's out there saying they've got it all figured out and they're a master, they're lying. Or exaggerating ridiculously. Be compassionate to yourself and take time for yourself, and don't judge yourself for whatever it takes you to get through the day. One way you can really help ease your discomfort is by going out and helping another person. because it gets you out of your self-introspection mode, which is a good thing. And I mean, we need to do that, and we need to take care of home base. Because if we don't take care of home base, we're not very good at being of service. And be nice to people that don't have the same perceptions and perspectives as you do. Because right now we're insanely polarized. And the funny thing is, the buddies love to say this. They don't understand how we got so polarized. They don't get it. Because when they see us from way off planet, they look down, we're literally, you're not going to like hearing this, we're literally on the same plane of consciousness here when you look at the whole universe. And we have such polarized ideas and so many judgments about each other right now. But when you look at a bigger perspective, we're all in the same boat. We're all drinking the same Kool-Aid. You know, we really shouldn't be judging each other. And they say that once we get it together here, then the door opens to a much broader, wider experience of our universe that we wouldn't experience otherwise. And I think this is a big test. We have polarized ourselves out to the extreme, to the point where it is now absurd and ridiculous and absolutely insane. And that insanity is going to trigger us into realizing that we're all in the same boat.